Hi, ladies. Sherry Lutz Harrington here again. Just wanted to cover something that maybe we don't stop and think about. And that is that if you have been through abuse of any kind, but financial abuse falls in that category, and we know that most people who have suffered some other kind of abuse are also subjected to financial abuse. I want you to recognize that you've been through a trauma. And having been through multiple traumas in my life, including the worst one recently, I can tell you that trauma is a really hard thing to live with, to deal with, to overcome. And I wanted to address it in the sense of the financial recovery piece. We see a lot of financial advice out in the world. There are millions of resources you could go to for your financial advice, and I recognize that. I am trying to have a different approach for a different reason. And the reason is that I know if you've been through financial abuse, you've been through a trauma. And just throwing financial books at you, particularly ones written by men, might seem not only overwhelming, but inappropriate or frustrating or maddening or angering, whatever. You might have a really poor response to that kind of financial advice. And I want you to honor that. I want you to recognize that having been through a trauma means that the world feels different to you and different things hit you in different ways. And you really can have what I call trauma attacks or trauma ambushes, where you're just going about your day and somebody makes a comment or you experience something that triggers the trauma that you experienced. And when that happens, you really need to, what I say is armor up, protect yourself, and close your energy field, if you will, around you to keep that negativity from coming in and impacting you. And if it's already in, then you have to kind of cleanse yourself out and push it back out and find a way to get on solid ground again before you try to push forward. And when you're recovering from financial abuse, it's not linear. You're not every day getting better, every day getting better, every day getting better. There are going to be setbacks. Same thing with recovering from trauma. You're going to have better days and you're going to have worse days. Hopefully what happens is over time, everything gets better despite the down days or the setbacks or the difficulties. And so I want you to really remember to have grace for yourself and to be kind and to be forgiving and to be understanding of your own personal needs. That self-care is so critical during this time. And that might mean that you need to have a little splurge and buy something special for yourself or treat yourself to something that you really don't have in the budget. The difference is not making that a habit, but using it as a tool specifically for self-care so that then you bounce back higher and are able to address the next issue and the next issue and the next issue, because you can't just push and push and push to get through a trauma. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to allow it to wash over you, experience it, and then free yourself back up from that negativity, pull yourself back up, find your inner strength, and then take those steps forward and address it one piece at a time. And it might be that this piece is too much and you've got to break it down into little tiny pieces. And that's, again, where I see so many of these financial resources out there. There's nothing wrong with them. They work great for people who are, just functioning normally and able to handle things. But if you're recently coming through a trauma, handling things is a lot. It's asking a lot of yourself. I get that. So remember that and just bite off one little piece at a time. What can you do today? What can you do tomorrow? Maybe set a weekly goal. And then if today's a bad day and you can't do it, take 2 steps tomorrow. Don't stop. Don't get off track. Don't give up. Don't let that self-care treat turn into a habit that you can't afford. If you can afford it, great. I started a few years ago getting regular massages. They help tremendously with trauma because you disassociate. And if you get that physical touch and you get brought back in and you get grounded again, for me, it's a huge piece of my self-care. Is it an extra expense in my budget? Sure. I make sure I can afford it and I schedule it and I do it because it's part of my recovery. So when it comes to dealing with your finances, understand that you might need a slightly different approach. You might need to deal with a woman at your bank. You might need to deal with a woman financial advisor. That's fine. Do what works for you. That's what we're here for, is to help you understand the difference in dealing with finances when you've been through financial abuse. It's different than if you're just coming out, you got your out of college, you got your first job, you've got a new credit card. Sure, you're going to have to learn how to manage your own finances. You're going to buy a house, you're going to buy a car. How does that all look? That's one thing if you haven't been through financial abuse. And if you have, you may have a very different reaction to those things or a different approach that works. And that's okay. That's what I'm here to tell you. You're going to be okay, but you're going to do it your way. And don't let anybody, particularly a man, tell you how to do it. When I make suggestions, I offer them as suggestions. I want you to take what works for you and leave the rest, because it might not be your best path. And I honor that. I respect that. I see that. So here it is, from my heart to yours: a safe, healthy, happy recovery, and overcome those pieces of that trauma one day at a time, sister. You got this. I believe in you. I believe you can do this. We're here to help support you in your recovery from financial abuse. Thank you for being part of this group. We appreciate you, and take good care. We'll talk to you real soon.